In this tutorial, we will cover how to add conditional stages to an analytical app. Analytical apps are all about control and user experience. Conditional stages give us a way to control which stages the user is able to use, in addition to make our apps simpler to use by hiding unnecessary stages. To begin with, we have an empty analytical app. It simply has a name, and we have selected the execution type, the project, and our beginning workflow. To start with, we will add a stage that allows our user to select which of the following stages will be run. This must be of type parameters. In this case, we need no condition, since this is our beginning stage and we want it to always appear. To start with, we will add a panel, just to add some information. Now we will also add a column so that we can add multiple options. The first of these options will be a radio. A radio allows the user to select an input while allowing us to maintain strict control over what is input. After we have named it using the label, we will go to the Data tab. This is where we will enter our labels and our values, which will be represented within the radio. We will also add a second option to display our second stage. One thing is that we can also differentiate between a label and a value. For example, to make it easier for us in the future, we will change the value, which will not affect what the user sees. So the user will have all the information available to them, while we have a simplified version which we can use in later steps. Next, we need to move over to the API tab. This is where we will grab our property name. It may be best to copy and paste here, as this must be exact for future steps. This property name is essentially our variable name, or what we need to use later to refer to this parameter created by the radio. We will also add a button here so that our user can move between and onto the next stages. This must be of type event. Now we can hit save and done and move on to adding our next stages. For our next stages, we will use the stage type run, as we want them to run various workflows. Here is where we will add our conditions. A condition must be in the form of the parameter name, along with an equal sign or some other comparative, and then in single quotes, the value which we want. This means that this stage will only be shown to the user and will be allowed to use if this condition is met. Essentially, if they choose cleaning or data cleaning in our radio. Now we can edit this, and to keep things simple, we will simply add two buttons. One will be to actually execute our workflow, and the second will be a back button for navigation. This must also be of type event, except this time it will be the event execute. It is important to always add buttons. That way our user has a way to interact with our analytical app even if they mess up in a previous stage. Now we will add our next stage, which will be almost identical. It will be of type run, except this time it will be for running our data visualization workflow. Again, we must add the parameter name along with our comparative, and this time with the corresponding value for data visualization. Now we can edit this stage, and again, it will be extremely similar to the last one, with two buttons, one to execute our workflow, and one to allow the user to move backwards. Again, both of these buttons will be of type event. Now we can save this stage and hit done. As mentioned in previous videos, now for each of the run stages, these last two, we must select the workflows which we want to be run. Now we can save our analytical app and we can run it for testing. Here we see our radio on the left and our button on the right. Here's where the user can select one. For example, we will select data visualization and then hit next. This will show us the data visualization one. And as we can see, when we hit execute, it submits our job and runs our data visualization workflow. However, since we have also added the back button, our user, if they realize that they have messed up at this stage, can always return back to the last stage. Thank you for listening.